Hey everybody, hope you're okay. Just let me know if that picture's okay. I might just turn those lights off behind me. Is that better with the lights off behind me? And is the sound okay if I stand over here to demonstrate? If I swing from over here, or maybe from this angle here, does that all work okay for you guys? Turn that down so I'm not quite in the light. There you go. Alrighty. Oh, great. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for letting me know. Where are you tuning in from, Jay? Reading. Okay, maybe not too far away. Did you play at West? Did you say you play at Oxford Golf Club or Oxford Golf? Somewhere around there? Did I ask that last time? Reading. Hi, Chris. Are we okay? Alrighty. So it's 31 minutes. Hi, Dom. Are we okay, mate? Are we doing all right? So it's 31 minutes. Got loads to get through tonight. The questions have been fantastic. I've got some really good topics here. I'm going to answer all the questions tonight. And then I think what we'll do, if you guys are all right, I'll do 2 tour swings today. And then we'll try and meet up next week, perhaps on a Friday night again, if this time suits you. And then we'll go through the tour swings. But the questions are superb, actually. There's so much to get through tonight. All right, so we'll give it one more minute, and then we'll get cracking. I think I've got 12 topics all told of the questions. And then we will get through those. And like I said, we'll go through the tour swings. I've got some fantastic pictures for us to go through there, the tour swings. It has been a very long 4 weeks, Dom. I think this one's been much harder. You know, darker mornings, darker nights, shorter windows in the day, you know, I think the last lockdown it was nice weather, wasn't it? So anyway, not been too bad. We're at the end of it now. Golf back open on Monday or Wednesday, I beg your pardon. Alrighty, so it is just about 33 minutes past the hour. So we'll get started. Well, thanks ever so much for your questions, guys. The questions are vital because hi, Chris. I do miss golf as well. Yeah, no joke. The questions are vital that you send in because when I'm stood in front of you on the driving range and I'm looking at you having a chat and what have you. Hi, Adam. You all right? When you're on the driving range and I'm watching you right in front of me, then I can react to exactly what I see. And oftentimes what you're thinking you're doing and what you're trying to do might not be exactly what you are actually doing. But it's always great to clear up these questions. And the questions that you've sent me really work out ever so well. So the first question that I've had, I don't know who they're from, by the way. I just got the list from Will today. And he said, this is what's come through. So brilliant. So the first question that I had, someone's asked about swing plane. So first of all, we have to work out what swing plane is. And basically, if I have a hammer and a post, there's a perfect line in which to apply that power. And typically, I line my levers, my shoulder lever, my elbow lever, my wrist lever there in a line and hammer down on the hammer onto the post. Same applies to a golf swing, but unfortunately, it's a little bit more complicated. And so we swing the club around the body, and that essentially is the plane of the swing. So what should I do here now? If I put my arms out in front of me and to my side, and I rotate around my spine, that's certainly not a golf swing, but a golf swing is simply leaning forwards, and then look at that angle there created by my arms around my body, and that's effectively the plane of my shoulders. The plane of my hands and arms, then, so once I've got my shoulder plane there rotating around, my hands and arm plane is measured by where my club is held in my hands here. That's an upright swing plane, and that's a very flat swing plane. So it doesn't matter who you are. If I've got a video of your swing, Let's have a look here. Okay, this is a good example, actually. So this is a chap I was giving lessons to the other day. Doesn't matter who you are. So there is his address. He plays off a low teens handicap. Let me just get that in better light for you. Of course, quite tricky that today. Okay, it's better. All right, so if I then draw the lines, how I measure the swing and how we all measure the swing is I put two yellow lines on the screen there. Alrighty. So the line, the lower of those two lines, this line here, that's run from, where's the light line for you again? Oh, it's difficult light tonight, guys. There we go. The lower line is running from the club shaft all the way through his sort of midriff, and the upper line is running through the top of his shoulders. In between those two lines are where the world's best players tend to swing. Yeah. So very, very few will swing that club along the lower line here. And the one who does, the notable one, is, what's his name? Come to me in a second. The majority of the tour pros swing the club more up on the upper line. They want to have a more upright swing when they swing. They don't swing around. There's Matt Kuchar, who has a very, very flat swing around here. Ricky Fowler, the same, tends to go very low along the lower plane. The majority of pros swing somewhere in between those two lines, but the big hitters swing very high on the upper line there. And the big hitters through time have always swung towards the upper line. Hi, Cohen. Nice to see you. So that's what a swing plane is. Now, this chap here, I just fast forward his swing a bit. You can see he swings very much underneath. One of my favourite pupils, this chap, a lovely man, and he swings the club very much underneath. So he came for his lesson, and then watch the difference here now. And this is the power of the iPad technology that they use. So there he is again, same chap. I'm going to draw some lines on him now. And the beauty is we always use the same lines. So you can see, right, I've got him there now. So there you see the lines. And then watch this now. I swing him up and look at that. His hands and the club head now are absolutely in between those two lines. So he's back on plane. Didn't take him long at all. That is a good golfer anyway. Low teens handicap. And he got himself on plane. So why is that super important? You might be trying to throw something down that target there. You wouldn't throw from around here because there's no power. You get up here and then throw out that way. Same with all swing. We're trying to get ourselves up here to throw out towards the target. So that's essentially what a swing plane is. And the parallels in physics are the hammer on the nail, and we're trying to get that perfect contact, bang down there. Same on a golf ball, bang down here. So that's the plane of a golf swing. And there's more nonsense written about the plane of this golf swing. Now, in scientific terms, or sort of more technical terms, it's the rotational axis at the sweet spot of the club. Never forget, the sweet spot's the part you're trying to hit the golf ball with. Forget about the club head, the shaft, the grip, the handle, the loft. It's the sweet spot that's got to meet the back of the ball. You should focus on the sweet spot a lot. So the true definition of the plane of a swing is a rotational axis the sweet spot takes around the body. And there's one optimum plane for that. You just got to find it. That's the hard part. Alrighty. So hands in front. It's a great phrase that you hear it all the time from the top professionals, and it's something which very, very few of the world's top players don't do now. So I start my hands in front of my body here. My body's here. If I swing halfway back, my hands are still in front of my body line. They haven't come behind me. So whoever's written the question saying, what does it mean when we say our hands in front? As I swing the club back, hands are in front of the body. I then swing up from there. As I come down, hands are still in front of my body. Look at that hitting position and snapping there to get the hands well extended. So you see how much space I create. So how do we get the hands in front of our body? The key is to get the right side moving backwards, and that gives me a ton of space then to move the club into. If I don't get the body moving and I swing the club inside like this, my hands are now behind my body, a disaster for the game. Now, for those of you guys who are working on or working with limited range in your limbs, your left and right and what have you, this is when we start saying, okay, why don't you aim a little bit out here or aim a little bit out here? We move your feet around to give you a sense of space in the swing. So hands in front of the body is a very, very common theme, and the majority of the world's best players do it on the way back. More importantly, they do it on the way back, but on the return to the ball, the hands are right in front of the body here. They're not hitting the ball from being stuck here. There's no power there. And again, one of my favourite photographs is showing 10 of the world's best players. You take 10 of the world's best players here. Look how far in front of their bodies their hands are. Their hands are way in front of the body. So it starts at address, it works all the way through the backswing. So the point is that when they get into impact and they're trying to deliver the power of the club head into the ball, their hands are very much in front of the body there. Okay, so just on that note, I just noticed something there about swing playing. Got one of my other pictures down here. And we're going to talk about, I just mentioned Cooch, didn't I? Cooch is in the green shirt, and look, he's swinging that club as flat as a pancake. Tiger's in the middle, a very orthodox swing. Spent most of his career trying to get close to playing. And then Furyk on the far end of the screen there, with a very upright swing. Now, if you take a difference between the two extremes, Tiger's in the middle, look at the difference in those angles there. It's probably about 40 degrees of difference between those two positions. They've just found their best way of doing it for themselves. So it's very difficult to teach bad playing because it's such a quirk. If a pro is bad playing, i.e. not in the sort of normal orthodox bars that we talked about here, i.e. Kuchar goes this way, then you can't teach that. We couldn't teach that. We would teach that if you're struggling a bit with a bad right shoulder, bad right arm. We try and get a little bit more around the body here and take the pressure off the right arm. So if we have the right arm too extended out here, you're putting pressure on it, or it's sore, it's poorly, it hasn't got the range of motion, then it's much easier to swing the club around the body. You can still hit good shots by making an off plane swing. It's just how consistently you can do that. And one of the beauties that we've had, Di, Alistair, and myself, are working with you guys, that we've had to adapt an awful lot of times, looking at sort of limitations physically that you may have, and say, okay, well, what's the best way for this person to swing to optimize their game? I'm not a tour pro. You won't be tour pros. Most people who play golf won't be tour pros. So there's lots and lots of incorrect ways that we can do it and still get results out of the game. That's the beauty of it, really. Okay, then I've got asked a question, swing through with the hands. The hands are the final, well, the penultimate part of the sequence. The point of a golf swing is to get the sweet spot to meet the back of the ball with as much power as possible at impact. Yeah. So that's the sweet spot. What comes before that is the hands. Before that is the arms, and then the body turn. So as I swing my club on the return to the ball, my body comes down first, my hands and arms drop into place. The club then has this lever, which we unlever on the way down, and that brings the club head into the back of the ball, the sweet spot into the back of the ball. So the hands, believe it or not, play a very, very limited role in that sequence until the very, very end. And it's all about how the body moves, really. If the body moves well, the arms will swing into position, and the hands and arms will then get put into position. So when the question says here how to swing through with the hands, you've got to get the body engaged as best you can, first of all. Now, you've seen good players stand with their feet together and hit shots successfully with the feet together. And that's why when we're teaching guys who are lower limb injuries, we can say, okay, well, it's fine. You can stand in a variety of positions as long as we can train you to hold the club softly and give that club a bit of a hit with the hands on the way through. So getting your hands through, there's two dimensions to that, isn't there? If my target's that way, how do I get my hands through? And if my target's that way, how do I get my hands through? Getting my hands through that way, what should I do here now? If I turn my body, I've done nothing with my hands, I've just turned the body and that's got my hands through. So if my body gets out of the way, I've got room for my hands to go into. But in this dimension here, again, if I turn my body, I push my hands forwards towards the target. I don't whip them around me here. Again, we don't put the hands behind us. It's amazing what I loved about these questions. I don't think we'll have put them in any order particularly, but as I look through them, they seem to fit into a sequence and how many of them link with each other's questions. So plane, hands in front of the body, all these things are all similarly aligned. Okay, the next question is talking about the rotating of the hips. Your hips don't rotate in a golf swing. I think it's one of the poorest descriptions of what the movement in a golf swing that I've seen. You watch me here. My hips have got one range of motion, and that's it. There's nothing there. It's just like a tilt of the hips this way. They're connected to the spine and the top of the legs. They can't work independently. So how can I rotate my hips? I can't. If I set myself up here and pull my right leg back, my hips have gone through 45 degrees of turn. Not turning at all, really. Just move my leg back. So if I move my leg back now, look at my hip turn. It's going from here to here. But my legs are far more powerful than my hips. You can't go to the gym and work on your hips. Well, you probably can in some way, but you've got to use your big muscles before that. So the key really, hi Mandra, hope you're okay. Okay, a drill to improve club head speed, no problem. If we move our legs and we think about our torso moving, like the trunk here, if I move my right leg back on the way back like that, and I swing my right side behind me, the hips have played a tiny, tiny role in that. It just happened to be between my legs, my trunk and my back and what have you. So I never ever teach anyone. And by the way, I have taught loads of people in the past, no, got to move your hips and let's get your hips doing this, your hips doing that. And I look back and think, it would have been so much easier to have got someone to move their legs. Your legs are massive, the biggest muscles in your body, strongest muscles in your body. Think if you went to a gym, or you watch someone in the gym, there's a limit to what one can do with an arm, but the legs can push so much more. And again, I keep coming back to this point with you guys on Course Foundation. We teach so many guys who are lower limb injuries. Hi, Melvin. Hope you're okay, mate. Lower limb injuries. Might be legs, it might be hips, it might be whatever. And as long as we can get the hands and arms moving, they'll create a lot of power. It doesn't mean to say they'll play their best golf all the time, but there's lots of adaptability there. So in terms of your hip rotation, it doesn't exist. I think that's the question, what about the element? It's a good question. So what do you mean by when you say elements? I mean, it just means the sort of ingredients. A chocolate cake isn't just made of chocolate. And so there's lots of ingredients that go into it. And if you put too much chocolate in, it starts being a chocolate cake, right? For want of a better analogy there. So there's lots of motions and lots of moves in the swing which become those ingredients. So the element's not the best word. Ingredients, I think, is a better word. And we have to put the right amount of ingredients in there. The more ingredients I get in my legs, the better golf I play. Because I get so much power and range in my legs. Yeah. If I'm holding the club lightly and correctly, I get as much power as I can through my hands. So I try and combine those two ingredients there. There are other things which I do, if I do a little bit of, they have a knock-on effect. So for instance, say if I'm setting myself up to the ball here, what should I do here now? This is an old trick that Jack Nicklaus taught to Nick Faldo. Jack Nicklaus would set himself up here. And the last thing he'd do is he'd move his head to the side like that, because his view was that gave him a bit more chance of getting his right shoulder behind him. So it's a cascade of success then. I read that phrase recently, I loved it. Cascade of success. If the head tilts this way a little bit, yes, it changes the view of the ball, but it also helps the right side get out of the way. So that little movement of my head setting up the ball from here and then doing that helps the right side of the body get behind me even further. So it increases the range of my swing. The more range I've got in my swing, the bigger the journey the club head will go on to create more power. So element's not a great word. Ingredients is a much better word. And again, another thing I've learned tonight, someone's asked the question, what do you mean by element? Well, I didn't really mean element, you know what I mean? So sometimes the language has to be a bit flexible, if you'll forgive me for getting it wrong. Okay, what is smash factor? It's a phrase I loathe. I can't stand it. So I have what's called a TrackMan radar. You may have seen these on the tour. And it's a brilliant bit of kit. It's military grade. It's all started with the military. And it's basically a little yellow box, orange box, beg your pardon. That's it. There. It's a radar with a camera in it. And it sits behind, it's a radar, beg your pardon, with a camera. And it sits 3 meters away from the player. So if the player stood here hitting shot this way, the radar sits 3 meters away back there. And it reads everything in the swing. It's a little orange box like that. It's got its own Wi-Fi. And then every night, every single TrackMan in the world sends all the data into their supercomputer in Denmark, and that puts together all that information. So Tiger Woods, me, the lessons I'm giving, John Rahm, Dustin Johnson. I think 49 of the top 50 players in the world have all got one. There's only one. I think it's DeChambeau who doesn't use it, bizarrely. And all that data goes into the computer, and it tells us what every single mile an hour of swing speed, I'll come back to your point in a second, Mahendra, every single mile an hour of swing speed is capable of, because physics will only allow for a club moving at 100 miles an hour to send the ball a certain distance. Now, this is where equipment has a legal limit. If you take a trampoline and someone jumps on the trampoline goes down and it springs that person really high. You try jumping up and down on concrete, you don't get any bounce, and so there's a limit to how high you jump. If you jump down the trampoline, it springs you up high. So a golf club face, the limit of it, how much it's allowed to spring that face out, is set. Because they could actually make them more powerful if they wanted to. Because they make the faces super thin and really flexible. They wouldn't be made out of metal. They put a graphite face in there. The ball would go in, spend ages on the face, and then wow, a big Yahoo off the club face. It spent so much time on the elasticity of the trampoline effect. So what's smash factor? The original question. It's all measured by these TrackMan radars, and what it does, you've seen, haven't you? Anyway, what it does, it measures everything on there, and it says, okay, if you swung that club at, let's say, 80 miles an hour, the limit of physics for that ball to fly off that face is 120 miles an hour, 1.5 times the club head speed. So the limit of physics with a golf club is it's allowed to come out at 1.5 times. 1.5 times, yeah. And that's your smash factor. So if I hit at 80 and it flies out 120, 80 times 1.5 is my smash factor. So 80 times 1.5 is 120. That's how I get from 80 miles an hour, I add 50% to it. And the bit in the middle, the 1.5, is a smash factor. So smash factor is basically the multiplier of at the speed at which the club moves finds the result of how fast the ball moves. Now, the guy I work with who's the long driving coach, they obsess on ball speed. They're trying to get the fastest ball speed off the club face all the time. And why is that? It goes back to sweet spot, what I said before. Remember I said before, how so many of these questions are linked. If you hit the ball from the sweet spot of the club, the ball flies off at its fastest speed possible. So if you've got a very, very fast swing, but you hit the periphery of the club face, your smash factor will be very low. If you swing quickly, same speed, and hit it from the middle of the face, the smash factor is much higher. So if I have a smash factor of 1.4 with my driver, I know it's a very bad strike, because that means I swung at 100 miles an hour, but the ball only left at 140. If I have a smash factor of 1.5, it's the best strike I could hit. So I swung at 100 miles an hour, and the ball left the club is 150 miles an hour. So when I look at my smash factor, it's telling me that my club swung at a certain speed, the ball left at a faster speed, that multiplies that bit in the middle, and that's called the smash factor. Now, interestingly, the world's longest 10% of hitters don't have as high a smash factor as the world's next 10%. Excuse me, slurping there. And that's because the world's top 10 hitters actually don't care to find the sweet spot because they know the speed will create mass on the ball. The next 10%, they will actually just rather hit the sweet spot more often, try and get more ball speed that way. Lots of different ways of doing it. The monsters don't have to find the sweet spot. If that doesn't make sense, just or I need to explain it again, just type something in for me. What's this sequence of the turn of the body prior to impact? I don't use the word turn. I don't like it anymore. What I talk about is, can I get my right side behind me on the way back? And if I do that, that pulls my hands and arms into position. If on the return to the ball, I pull my left leg back like this, it creates a pulling action and I swing down. You watch me here in slow motion. In fact, I've got a better image for you in the library here. I love this picture. And it tells you everything you need to know about this question of sequence. That's the minors strike, the 1980s. And you've got 3 minors in a row there. Let's just put this away. 1, 2, 3. Now you think before, 1, 2, 3. Before digital cameras, and these guys were just snapping away, that is the briefest moment in time. You've got 3 men there about to lob a stone, and I guarantee you none of them went to stone throwing lessons at the local stone throwing club the week before. They're all just using Mother Nature. So what's the sequence there than throwing something? Well, the first thing you do is they do a golf swing. They come back onto the right side. And what have they done? They pulled their right side backwards and created a turning action. Turn, yeah? They're now behind it. They're back here, right? They've done that. They've transferred the weight. The body weight is now behind the ball. They're leaning backwards in their spines because that gives them a launch angle. They're not going to throw it at this angle here. They're tilted back because they want to throw it up on the longest throw possible. If they threw it horizontally, Mother Nature takes over. Throw it vertically, it's just going up and down, hit them on the head. So you can see they set themselves at an angle here. Then what they've done, they've created levers in their right side. Lever 1, lever 2, lever 3. It's a brilliant photo. It sums up everything in the golf swing. Lean back, turn back, coil the right hand, coil the right elbow, get themselves right behind it. So what's the sequence from there? They built power in the backswing to here. What will happen next is that left leg will snap down and they will turn the body or pull the body backwards out of the way and then release the hands and arms. What's the last thing to get all the power? It's the wrist and the hand. Going back to the point I made earlier. So the sequence is stamp, pull out of the way, body rotates around. These levers now are ready to snap forward. So that is the sequence of the swing. So that's sequence, but what's rhythm? What's timing? What's tempo and what's speed? So let's work out what I just said there. Sequence, what moves first? You want your body to get out of the way first, and that get your hands and arms into position. As I get my body out of the way on the way through, in the golf swing, hands and arms drop down, club head snaps into the back of the ball. So that's sequence, what happens in what order. Rhythm, that's this sort of the flow of your swing. If you look at someone with a lovely rhythm like Ernie Els, we're going to talk about him later, it looks so unhurried, his rhythm is unhurried. You look at someone like the DeChambeau, his rhythm is very fast. What's the tempo? That's the underlying beat of the swing. What's the sort of bum, 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 bum of his swing? What's the sort of tick-tock to his swing? Speed, club head speed, body motion. How fast can that body move to create club head speed down there? And timing, that's what we all need, is all those ingredients or elements I was just about to say coming into the back of the ball. So you've got all those ingredients that need to match to create a golf swing. Okay, let me get these questions here. What's a drill to improve your club head speed, Mahendra? Simplest way to do it is to hold the club upside down in your right hand or your left hand, whichever, and then get the club and listen for a swish. Because I'll guarantee you, your body will move out of the way as best you can with the limits that you've got. You'll stay on balance as best you can on the way down. You'll get that whipping action. And again, think of the stone throwers over there. They weren't taking lessons, but they found a way of whipping out like that. And think of that like a slingshot, you know? Whoosh, like that. Get the body out of the way and whip. And that action of getting more club head speed, I guarantee, I just pointed out over the chat recently. I got about 7 or 8 miles an hour. Every mile an hour gives you 2.5 yards of distance. Think of that. Cohen, I recently got fitted for a new irons. I was carrying my 7L 155. That's good. So what he's saying there is the shape of your swing is correct. So you're carrying it 155. Your club head speed's good. So the club's moving properly. The angle of attack is good. So as the club moved to the ball, down like that, you weren't swinging up. You're coming down to the ball, so you're meeting it properly. That's great. He then said that your face and impact was good, so you're hitting it with a square strike. We don't want anything oblique in the golf swing, so you're getting it square strike. And then he said to you, but my efficiency could be better. That means you weren't striking the sweet spot, mate. So if you're doing all those things, there's lots of effort and lots of energy going into it, but it wasn't the optimized. Now, the optimized efficiency would mean that you're getting the sweet spot. You're taking advantage of all those brilliant things that he said that what you're doing there, but you're not quite getting the sweet spot. So if you don't quite get the sweet spot, all that hard work is wasted because you've got to try and find the sweet spot. Remember what the swing plane is? It's the rotational axis, the club sweet spot takes around the body. That sweet spot means the back of the ball. Power. Fast, but no strike. That's a strike. And that would smart, wouldn't it? Alrighty. Transition from takeaway to the top of the swing to the downswing. I love this question. What is the transition from takeaway? Your club head wants to be moving at its fastest point. My pleasure, mate. Wants to be moving at its fastest point when you strike the ball. Yep. And how many of us rip the club back at a breakneck speed. They take that so quickly, and you can't quite get the momentum going. So what is momentum? Club starts at 0 miles an hour at the bottom here. 10, 20, slight pause at the top, 40, 80, 100. 0, 10, 20, 40, 80, 100. Yeah. So that is how we get the transition. So that's the speed of the transition. So when we start at 0, we don't go from 0 to 60 as fast as we can. Yeah. We go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We slowly build it up there. It's an incredibly hard thing to do. The slowest part of your swing should be when you move the club away. The fastest part of your swing should be how the club enters the ball down here. And that's speed and momentum. So we take it back smoothly and bring it down with power. I've got an assistant pro. He's got the laziest looking swing I've ever seen. It's lovely. It's got really soft sort of hold on the handle, picks it up. He sort of waggles it around like this. It matches his personality. He's quite a sort of languid bloke, really. He then sort of sets himself up like he's got all the time in the world. Everything like at this speed, I'm not exaggerating. He then goes slow, and boy, oh boy, does he give it a rip. But he's under so much control. So the question of what is the transition? If the club starts slowly and you allow it to build up power, there's a lot more sequence and a more sort of harmonizing of that sequence. And that led that same question, I think, to lead into how do they stop themselves from getting steep and outside in? It's so linked. If I take that club back slowly and I bring it down with a bit of elegance and let it really snap down here, I don't grab it, I don't yank it. The problem is if I get the top and try and yank it, the force of my swing actually travels the wrong way. I push the swing that way. It's a disaster for golfer. The minute your right elbow and right shoulder go forwards, that's a bad thing in golf. As I'm coming down, as I go to the top here, let the club just fall softly, and then I snap it on the way down. So up, snap. Let me just get a tea towel, 1 second. I'm going to wait for this now. Listen to that. It's a golf swing, isn't it? If I race that back, I can't time it. I'm going to wait for it. Up. Lovely swing that. Up and bang. And like I said to you before, that is smart. If that was a clap around the face, bang, that's going to hurt. Hand positions. So, hand positions, if I can just show you a picture here. And this sums it up really. I only found this picture tonight. That's Adam Scott at impact. There you go, look at that. So look at his glove hand, look at his left arm, and look at the shaft of the club. Absolutely in line. Now, it's only 1/2000th of a second that we're at impact when we hit the golf ball. But look how that left arm and the shaft of the club are in line. So what he does is as he addresses the ball, his hand position is at the club shaft, and his left hand, if I had a glove on that hand, are in a perfectly straight line. Not hands behind, not hands in front. What that means then from this position here is that if I pull my right side back, I keep my hands in front of my body on the way back. And as I swing down and get my left side pulling out of the way, that in turn keeps my hands in front of my body again. So in terms of hand position, that is an incredibly difficult thing to achieve there, but that's what the world's best players are working on. And that is the true purpose of the hands, to get the whole of the sequence matched to the club head and the shaft, and the body is matched through the hands. So if the hands hold the club properly and the body moves properly, that clubber gets a great message of power. If I move my body incorrectly, or if I start with a poor hand position, I can't get power to the handle. I could probably hit the ball better than two. Alrighty, so someone's asked the question, how do I stop hitting behind the ball? If I start here, that clap represents the middle of my body. Yeah. As I hit the ball, I want my body moving that way and this way. So there's definitely a motion when my right knee kicks forwards there. Now, if again you're struggling with lower body mobility, which many of you are, I know that, then what Dialyster or myself might do, we might put the ball a bit further back in your stance. Because you know if you're going to get a bit static here, that you're going to catch the ground before the ball, so we just put the ball there. So the first thing you'd say is, if you get the ground before the ball, move the ball's position and see how you get on with that. If you're hitting the ground behind the ball and the ball's going very high, then moving the ball back will put the correct loft on the club face and also give you a cleaner contact. So there's a lot of parts of the golf swing which are a bit of a moving feast, and the ball's position is one of those things. We often sort of fiddle around with that, move it forward, move it back, move it further away, move it closer to you. And the beauty of doing that is that you sort of find your range. So don't be frightened about putting the ball a bit further back in the stance if you're catching the ground before the ball, or get your body through it a bit more. So as you're moving through the shot, as you bring the club down, soft with the hands and move that body forwards. Think about the right knee pushing towards the left knee. And I literally, if you can see my foot action now, when I swing, I scrape my right side into my left like that. I'm getting that rapid off the ground. Now, in terms of what the golfing gods do, if we look here, hang on a minute. Sorry, just give me a second there. I'm going to find one picture for you, which I know is there. Where is it? Ah, there we go. This guy's hit that ball on that drive there. Let me get a better angle for you. That's it. He hit that ball 400 yards. Think of that. Think of a par 4 at your club, which is 400 yards. It's probably a drive and a rescue wood for most of you. It's a drive and a fairway wood for most amateur golfers. You'd be a scratch golfer to hit a drive and a mid-iron, and a very long hitter to be a drive and a sort of 8 or a 9-iron. But I mean, look at that. He's bombed that. Look how far in front of his body his hands are there. So he's one of the world's longest hitters, this guy. And he throws himself off the ground, getting his feet off the ground there. So that shows you how much activity and motion they have in their feet and their foot action, their leg action. And that's what stops them from hitting the ground. So I think I've covered 11 or 12 questions there. Any more questions on the Q&A? Just type those in. Okay, so you've asked me to analyse Ernie Els' swing. Now, this is brilliant. And one thing that really makes me smile is when people say, oh, you know, golfers aren't athletes, you know, they just... Right, well, you show me then. There's Ernie Els. Right, so look at his glove arm. That's his left arm. That glove arm is almost vertical to the sky and is still looking at the ball. Now, I play golf every day, so my body is golf supple and golf strong. For me to get my left arm vertical up there is fine as long as I can push it there with my right arm. But can I look at the golf ball? No. So you think of that. He takes his left arm, gets it vertically, and still looks at the ball. I can't even do it. Now, the twist that's put on my back is significant. That's a proper sort of really uncomfortable position I put in there. And they call him the Big Easy for that reason. I mean, how on earth does he get himself into that position? It's remarkable. Try it yourself. If you've got the mobility in the range, try it yourself. So in terms of his swing, remember I talked about Adam Scott, how he sets himself up to the ball, the glove arm, the left arm, and the shaft of the club form a straight line? There's a reason why Ernie sets himself up there and gets that left arm, the shaft of the club in a straight line, because it's exactly how he wants to hit the ball. We then move along a frame or two. And that left arm and the shaft of the club now have formed a perfect, almost a perfect right angle. So think of the leverage in a golf swing. He's gone from straight left arm and the shaft of the club to the top of his swing, where he's made that 90-degree angle. As he swings down, he brings that 90-degree angle down, And the sequence is that everything gets out of the way and the club snaps into position down here. So a full quarter of the swing there. His body will look pretty similar. His hands will be here. They'll go from here to here and snap that club down. So I've been, so if you look there he is in two sequences. That 90-degree angle hasn't actually changed. At the top of his swing, it's 90 degrees. As he's brought the club down, it's still at 90 degrees, no more and no less. Then just after impact, you can see he's swung that club all the way through. Now I've seen him a few times up close. I think of the twist and the range in his body there, all the way through. It's remarkable balance that. Anyone can twist the body around, anyone can get the body out of the way. We're doing it on balance where the club's swinging at 120 miles an hour. What an achievement that is. Twisted all the way around here. So when he's hit that shot there, you can see in that frame his back shoulder. He's got all the way through. Huge amounts of power in twisting the swing. Now, if you watch him walk around, he's got a very elegant gait. He walks very softly, for a big man. And he's huge. He's like, that sort of wide when you stand close to him. So if you then look at him, what we call down the line, there's two dimensions which we normally look at a swing. The top one is face on, and the second one's down the line. Oops, sorry. There you go. Sorry about that. So down the line, picture one, very relaxed, quite a soft rounded back. And then picture two, look at that, hands in front of the body. He hasn't let the club or the hands swing behind him. So again, that links to one of the questions that you asked earlier on. And that position at the top of the swing is a truly athletic position. So just link it with the picture above and you can see. Just incredible. And again, it's quite interesting to see. If you look at the top picture, you can see just how that left arm is vertical. Look at the bottom picture. It's pretty hard to see. It's just at a different angle. And that's why we always look at it from two different angles. He then untwists. And he's making a very, very stressful position on the body look very elegant and very soft. Now, I don't think anyone's natural at golf because it's so hard. The game itself is so difficult. But I think his natural attributes of physical size and strength and suppleness, real suppleness, lend itself to a swing and a repeatability which a stiffer body just couldn't get to. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, why Jon Rahm's so short. Now, his swing literally goes from here to here and then snaps through. Els goes a good long range further. So the length of the swing is completely dependent on what their bodies are capable of. Okay, so finally, we'll cover Adam Scott tonight. And it's just a perfect golf swing, isn't it, really? Again, if you look at him, he's very, very physically well built. He's very athletic, Aussie sort of athlete type. Sets himself up to the ball. What is noticeable about his position there is how his glove arm and his glove shoulder are quite a bit higher. So he sets himself up to the ball. The glove hand is higher on the handle. The right hand is lower on the handle. That has to have an impact on the shoulders. If you stand and your shoulders are level, then that left arm will be all crooked. That's the position they stand in there. He also has a very wide stance, Adam Scott. Someone said, let's look at Westwood's swing. If I just show you get out the glare. That's quite a wide stance. He's a broad-shouldered man, but his feet are actually outside the width of his shoulders there. Let's try and get a picture of Lee Westwood up. And Westwood has quite a sort of stiff walk about him. Very fit man, very strong man, but it's quite a stiff walk. And I think that shows in his address position. He can often stand quite narrow, Westwood. Yeah, but there's a picture of there. He's not hitting the same club. Not hitting the driver. I can't quite find the driver picture there. Get him up. Sorry about this. Should have got this one up for you earlier. I'll get him up here. Open. I can't quite get it. Anyway, Westwood has a much narrower stance there. I'll find a picture for you another time. Alrighty. So going back to Adam Scott's swing, big, wide stance. Now again, he looks at the top of his swing there. He doesn't look overly stressed, does he? And yet that is, let me go, sorry about this, the light's terrible. There you go. There you don't go. Whoa, wow, sorry about this, guys. I'm at tonight, isn't it? There you go. And yet, look how stiff that glove arm is. Bolt upright. Got his body right out of the way. And this is where Adam Scott looks so good now. Look at that for athletic. Angles maintained between his left arm and the shaft of the club, bringing it down. Body's moving towards the target. Legs and knees particularly. And then it just comes into that position there, which is just about as perfect as you'll ever find an impact position. I love that position there. I remember what I said about the right knee kicking in. Look, his right knee kicking in there. And from there, now he looks athletic. He has given that an absolute ride, hasn't he? Look at the twist on that body there. And that's quite an awkward position on the back there. It looks like there's a hell of a curve on the back. Not something we recommend that. And it's something which I find quite hard. So I know that when I hit shots, as I finish, camera back up, as I finish my swing, I'm very happy to stand bolt upright as I swing here. I'm not looking for any sort of curve back there. There's too much pressure on the back. Now, if I show you how swings have changed over the years, look at that. If that doesn't make you... Sorry about this, guys. Look at that. It's Tom Kite in the 1970s. He won more dollars than anybody else through the 70s and 80s, believe it or not. And look at that. I mean, that's a proper back cruncher, isn't it? All right then, guys. So we've covered all those questions tonight. I'm happy to do this session all the way through the winter time on a Friday night, if that's what suits you. Let Will know if it doesn't, or there's a preference. Then what we'll do next time, we'll talk about shot shapes. I've got quite a few asking about the how to play a draw. We can do that next time. And then we can also look at John Daly's swing, Lou Donald's swing, Tiger Woods' swing, Rory's swing, Fleetwood's swing, Justin Thomas, Lexi Thompson, and Justin Rose. So we can go through those as well. So we've covered an awful lot of stuff there tonight. I really enjoyed it. So thanks for tuning in. Is there anything else you want me to discuss tonight before we go? Failing that, we'll try and hook up next week. I'll speak to Will and we'll do one on Friday night if you fancy it. If you've got any questions, just type them in now. That's my pleasure, Jay. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure. Thanks, Corin. Thanks ever so much. Any questions in the week, just send them on to me or send them on to Will. I'll type in. That's my email address right there. Take a photograph of that if you want. My pleasure, Dom. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, I look forward to it, Chris. See you next time. What are my thoughts on the ladies' Masters at Augusta? Do you know what? I think they should do it because they want to do it rather than because they feel the need to do it. I think it'd be brilliant for the game. I think it'd be superb for the game. I think mixed events and all that sort of stuff don't really work because the tees are so far forward and what have you. I think it'd be great to see the ladies play at Augusta. It would be good for the game, quite frankly, mate. There's still a lot of barriers which golf seems to have, and it doesn't have really. Yeah, I agree with you. Unless there's not the barriers aren't there. You know, McIlroy is from a very modest background. Tiger Woods' dad was a soldier. Nick Faldo, council house kid from Welland Garden City. You know, good upbringing, but from a modest background. And golf is full of people from modest backgrounds. If you look at the ratio of private school educated England cricket and England rugby, it's much, much higher than golf, bizarrely. And everyone thinks golf's a toffee nose game. It's not. It's much more of a game played by all sorts of classes of people. There's been ladies open championships since the 1800s. Football, it's much younger than that. So other sports have been much slower than golf to catch on to embracing and bringing other people in, bringing everybody in, like men, women, colours, whatever. But it's the old sort of smell of whatever the old history was of the game. But yeah, I think it's good for the game, mate. I think it'd be great for the game, in fact. And it'd be great to see different people play the course as well. All right, guys, listen, thanks ever so much. Keep in touch with each other, keep in touch with me. Your mental health is absolutely critical this time of year. And just chatting with each other, staying in touch, get on the golf course next week is going to be a big help. We've got to keep each other sane and happy and stay in touch with each other. So any help I can be, just let me know. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. All the very best.